to be obtained if you have the right person now.
Then would you be in favor of a township manager?
I would if you, again, you have to look at that, and because it's a big investment, and to make that commitment, you have to have the right person who has the experience, knows how to write grants, and has the contacts to obtain those type of things, and also has the budgetary wherewithal, the acumen to say, hey, this department has this budget, are they on budget, are they staying on budget, have we over budgeted, are there cuts we can make somewhere? You know, because you're investing in vehicles, you're investing in personnel, and all these decisions have to be made on a regular basis. There, again, may well be money that can be saved. You can't actually what the plan is of the proposed township manager.
Okay. What are your feelings or thoughts about putting a referendum out to the citizens to vote on for the fire departments?
I guess two comments on that. Number one, I have no idea what the budget of fire companies are. It's something to look at. I think it's education to find out, do the citizens have enough information to put it in the ballot? But I think if you put the information out there, I have no objection.
What kind of plans do you think we can do, or would you have in mind for infrastructure improvements, be it over the next year, 5 years, whatever the case may be, for roads, parks, infrastructure, or facilities, everything like that?
That was part of when we did the comprehensive plan, that task force. And I think that outlines a lot of the things that we looked at, and this was feedback from the citizens. I'm sure we were all up to the middle school, we took the ballots and got that information. And that's basically what we looked at, a lot of information, what the citizens of this township wanted. And I think that the comprehensive plan kind of lays out where that's going. Rehash the hash.
Right.
You've been on the planning commission for
2 years.
2 years, I think.
Yeah.
We'll put it on. Have you been attending the meetings, all the meetings of the planning commission?
No, I've attended most.
Most of the meetings?
Yes, Dennis. Yes, Dennis, if we didn't tell me. I'm pretty good right there.
What type of law do you specialize in, Joe?
I was a sole practitioner.
Okay.
Going to law school with my midlife crisis. Had divorced kids and divorced wife. Doesn't make midlife crisis. But I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed law school. Coming out of college, I went a little late in life in the 40s.
When did you, in your 40s?
No, I wasn't right. And I sole practitioner. I did small businesses. I handled a lot of small businesses and handling with them collection work, them getting sued, contracts, a lot of different contracts for them, got into non-compete issues, got into personnel issues. You know how small businesses are. It's today's Tuesday, it's the crisis of the day. A lot of that. I handled actually a lot of defense work. My biggest client was Albertsons. I worked for a third-party administrator before that when I handling insurance. I worked for State Farm. I got into the self-insurance end of it with a third-party administrator, and my contacts were with Albertsons. I ended up coming back from Florida, originally with General Action, and after I was a third-party administrator, came back here and went to law school. Went back down there because that's where my contacts were. So I did defense work. I also did plaintiff and handled property and casualty, mostly defense work, probably 75% defense work, some plaintiff work. Did some, again, small businesses. Did a lot of, I guess near the end of my career, which I enjoyed very much, a lot of mediation, which I think was just absolutely to go. Litigation, with all due respect, is very, very expensive. And as you know, just getting to the courtroom most expensive part of that. It seemed like a lot of wasted time. Very frustrating, even from the licensing. Arbitration, almost the same problems you had with the actual judge and jury issue. And it gets pretty expensive too, as you know. You have 2 attorneys in there, you have maybe 1 arbitrator, maybe 3 arbitrators that are just churning and burning on this and discovery. So I being a sole practitioner, you kind of practice door law. And it's whatever walks in the door, take care of that.
What kind of experiences have you had with, the administration side of it, similar to, what we would do up here?
Well, administration, other than I had my own business, so I had to take care of that. I was payroll. I worked for a company, risk administrator, where I had handled the Southeast Claims Office. And of course, that was personnel, hiring, firing, renting offices, buying copies, what have you. As far as administration, I had probably the biggest thankless job in the world. I was president of the Condominium Association in Florida. So, that was interesting, tough crowd.
Joe or Carol, comments or questions for you guys?
Any questions?
Any questions or comments from the audience? Mrs. Scott, if you could please stand up and...
Comment in reference to Mr. Persin.
Big Joe.
Okay, hi. East Bradford, yes, I read that article in reference to open space. There, East Bradford is run by lawyer Pompa, who used to be our lawyer,
Okay.
who is, so I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get there.
But I have to defend the lawyer,
It's,
please.
it's already a done deal, it's rigged. Yes, they're fortunate, they have thousands of open space because it's already been set up, pre-planned by them, by the Lamb Law Firm, which lobbyist Novak, who is also solicitor for
Does this have anything to
everywhere
do with
around.
a person
I'm just
here in
telling
this
you,
township?
you can talk all you want, that you want to do something and be here for East Fallowfield, but it's already a rigged, done deal by the lawyers and the
Okay,
lobbyists.
please,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you very much.
Can I ask a question of, I see, I think, one candidate from last time, but I didn't ask this last time. But the candidates that are here tonight, or possibly one from last time, by show of hands, would you, obviously, with the open position, that position is now a special election next year. I'm just curious if you could raise your hand out of the candidates that are applying for this. Would you run for that position next year to continue onward past, one, two?
I'll make that decision.
Okay. Just curious, because of the time you're putting in, would you continue on with the balance of the term to run for that? Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
I have a question for the chairman, if you don't mind.
Real quick, before we...
Yeah, well, I noticed we had 4 tonight. How many did we have last?
6.
6, so
So we have 10
basically,
total.
there's 10 applicants that you
Correct.
gentlemen and ladies would have to review and come up with a percent of one of those candidates.
Correct.
All right, that's all I wanted.
At this point, just as a reminder, we spoke about it earlier, but as far as the timeline goes, we're going to take votes tonight and hopefully be able to come to an agreement on a candidate. If not, it would go 15 days past February 25th, that should be
March 11th.
March 11th, to meet with the vacancy board chair to try and make a tiebreaker. After that, it would go to a judge to make a decision, and there's no set timeline for that. Just so we're clear on what the responsibilities are there. Before we go to a vote, I just personally want to say thank you to all the candidates who came out and spoke to us and answered our questions and the public's questions. We appreciate all of you being willing to come out and take this position. I would hope, if you're not the one that gets the position, you know, there's plenty of volunteer opportunities if you're still willing to help out the community. You know, our park and rec crew is depleted. And, you know, there's other positions that always come up that would be grateful to have those people who are willing to come and speak here do. So, with that, I guess I'll make a first motion here.
Steve, can I elaborate on one thing?
Sure.
With the park and rec, and then we also have a vacancy, I mean, we have a opening on the zoning hearing as well, there's one on there.
Zoning here.
And anyone that is applying for it, or if anyone thinks that they want to, I mean, next year, there is a unique situation in East Fallowfield. There will actually be 3 seats
Correct, yeah.
up for election next year, so if you're not chosen, and I agree with Steve, I mean, there's a lot of great resumes here, please do run next year. I mean, I think the turnout is fantastic. It's great to see 10 people apply for a vacancy board, because sometimes no one applies, so I'm really impressed, and thank you as well for applying.
Yeah, there will be, I meant to mention that, 3 positions, so if you don't make it tonight, feel free to run next year.
Yeah, it
To
is.
see more people.
Just to elaborate on that too, it is great. I mean, the last 3 elections, we've had 3, 4, and 2 people run for seats in East Fallowfield. So the fact we have 10 people applying for this vacancy really is tremendous.
Yeah, it speaks a lot to the community, so. I'll go ahead and make my, a first motion here, to try for a candidate. I make a motion to appoint, Wilson Lambert as the East Fallowfield Township Board of Supervisor to serve until term expiration on January 2nd, 2018.
Second.
Comments or questions?
Mr. Lambert, I was listening to everything you had to say there. My only, can you elaborate a little bit more, like what happened? Like, obviously as a supervisor, with your status of where you have residency, I mean, you knew that you've moved your home, but you still wanted to continue your term in Valley? That's something, I was really impressed by your presentation, but that's the only thing that you caught me.
If you could come up, just come up front.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
And then I went to the courts.
We built our home on Glen Rose Road. So we moved out of our home, 149 Highland Avenue. I enjoyed being a supervisor. I was able to do some things for some people. I wanted to keep my seat. So I had approached somebody and said, listen, is there any way I could keep my seat? And I was told, would you be willing to continue to live in the township? And I said, yes. So when I made that decision that I'm not leaving until my term is finished, I was going to stay in my home. The question...
So you still own that other home?
Yes,
still? Okay.
I own it today.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
So the question became, well now, where is a man's domicile? Because if you're building a house in East Fallowfield, how could you live in Valley? So then I took it to Westchester to say, hey, I want to continue to represent my people until my term is up. So it came down to where I was living. And the judge said, I can't remember the jargon, but it was an old ruling from 55. No, it was earlier than 55, that a man's domicile is where his wife resides. But we live in a high-tech world. And in the 90s, it was well, not as much technology as today. So the argument was, you know, many people, you have college presidents, who's the president of the college in Rhode Island, but he doesn't live there. I mean, he lives, you know, I mean, he still has his home in Pennsylvania, so it becomes, well, where does he really reside? Because of how we can get around and different things like that. But that was the statute. The statute says, until the law's changed, I had to honor that. And, you know,
Did the solicitor of Valley Township advise you, I mean, you must have talked to about that at all. Were you advised, did you at all challenge what the solicitor had stated to go to the courts? I know you said you volunteered to go to the courts,
yeah,
but,
no, that was on my own.
okay.
that
What
was-
did the solicitor advise you at all to step down?
No, that has nothing, no, that was my decision.
But what did the board of supervisor, a solicitor say anything to you about, like, I mean, Mike, that rule's been in place for a while, the residency?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you consult the solicitor of Valley Township at all about your status?
No, once the judge says that,
Before you got to the judge, I mean, you had a solicitor that represented you as a board, like, we have a solicitor for the board. Did you consult the solicitor at all from Valley Township about your situation?
I think I did. I can't really remember, but I do know that, you know, the statute was the same then. You have to reside in the township. And I said, well, then I'm going to stay here until it's, you know, until my term is up. But it was beginning to, you know, people, you gotta be transparent. So that's why I took the move and said, hey, look, let me go public. I wanna serve my term. And, you know, the judge said to me, hey, this is commendable. Unfortunately, the law states, you know, that's precedent. A man's home is, his man's domicile is where his wife resides. And it was at that point that I resigned my seat. It was not a thing where,
But the solicitor never advised you at all on that from the board? Huh?
Sorry.
How was that?
No, I said, what if you have a wife?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I guess it'd be very
see,
spot
and see, you know, that's, and see, that's what the questions come down to, because even the judge says, well, okay, what makes you live in what makes you live in Valley? Is it just that there's a couch there? Is it just that you have, let's say, 2 pairs of pants there? Does that mean that you live there? It was very technical.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
If you knew that you were gonna live in East Fallowfield, why would you wanna finish out your term in Valley Township? What was your main reason?
Those people elected me, they came out and voted for me. I won in '93. I was a young guy, I was a Valley resident, I was born there. And I felt that they elected me. So why should I run? And then because I build a house, well, see ya. I was elected to represent them.
But your wife, you had, I mean, technically, I mean, I understand that, but you moved. I mean, technically, in a way, I know you own one home, but technically your family or your wife had moved, and technically you weren't separated. I'm not into your personal business,
Right.
but you were with them, so you were moving, so like.
No, we were still in the house.
You were still in Valley?
We were still in the house at Valley, but everybody knew that I was moving. I built a home.
Oh, this is pre.
See, once the use and occupancy permit goes up, you know, so that's when I said, well, I'm gonna try to keep my seat. But we were still in Valley.
But when you were technically gonna, I mean, that must have taken time to go over to Westchester.
No, that was, it was quick. It may, for the sake of memory, I'm gonna say it was something initiated maybe like in March, and it was within 6 weeks. Matter of fact, it was like maybe 3 weeks that we had the hearing. It was really quick.
I see, so what you're saying is, like, you're building up another house, your family was still living in Valley Township, and you know that you're moving, but you haven't officially moved, so you're at that time asking the courts to determine whether or not you're a supervisor technically?
I was asking them to determine that if my family left and went to East Valley,
Okay, so you're doing this before the separation?
yes,
Okay.
could I legally remain on the Board of Supervisors?
Okay.
You know, if my family goes and I decide to stay in Valley, can I legally represent that township? Because I can't break the law, so that's why I went to court. And once the courts ruled that, you know, yes, it's admirable, but it's case law, that's the way it is. So then, I resigned.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
I just have a question.
Yeah, if you could come up to the microphone, identify yourself, so we have the.
My name's Stephanie Saxton, and I just have a question for you. '97, there was a lawsuit filed against Valley Township with you and 12 residents. Did that have anything to do with you moving to East Fallowfield Township? I know what
No, the lawsuit was,
Which I agree, because it was in regards to a movement of a police chief, and you thought
Yeah.
that was unfair.
yes,
And I
Yeah.
commend you for your efforts in that, but I just wondered what kind of political was going on that moved you to East
no,
Fallowfield.
the lawsuit involved the police chief. They removed him, and they
Which you
did,
felt
they
unlawful.
didn't do
Right,
it
and you went for
properly.
the sunshine law.
So I applied to court that they violated the sunshine law, and the court said that they did.
Okay, yeah, and they, well, because they viewed for the defendant's
Yes.
motion, which was Valley Township,
Yes.
yeah. So I just wondered if that was part of the reason why you moved, which I commend you for your efforts,
Oh,
because
no,
that's
no,
kind
no,
of happening here a little, but I just wondered what was going on, what, you know.
And the reason that I moved, there was this big field beside my wife's family. I never thought I'd be able to get it, but somehow we got it, and I decided to build a home.
No, I don't fault you for either reason. I just wondered, because I knew there was a little political going on, and I just wanted some clarity on it. But like I said, I commend you for what you did, because it's kind of going on here, and I just wanted some clarity for it. But thank you for answering the question.
Thank you.
How did you, may I ask you, how did you know that? Like,
Google it, we'll figure it out.
what's that?
Google it.
Google, oh, okay, I wasn't sure, I didn't see it. I was
Because
curious.
I like my township, and I'd like to make sure that the person that you put in on the vacancy seat is worthwhile. I would love to run, but I'm a single parent, and I'm not sure that I could guarantee your time. So I just want to make sure that the person that does go in the next time when I'd like to run, that makes a smart choice and does what this township really needs. I feel this is a good township, and I think there's just some things that need to be worked out. And I just hope that whoever takes this spot is smart, is willing to take the challenges, look at both sides. There's always three sides to a story, his, hers, and the truth. And I just really hope that this person, you know, doesn't fall into the usual of good old boy network and just runs a vote. I really hope that if they make a decision, they're gonna do it based on facts, and they're gonna base it on the best interest of our township.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, that girl says she's running next time, I'll vote for her.
You
got my vote on.
Come up to the mic, please.
I'm sorry, I'm done.
I just want to make a comment in reference to the resident. The second-class township does state you have to be there. There was a case in reference to Modena resident running for supervisor and got the supervisor up West Vincent Township. The court decided it's where your residents were. He lived with his wife in Modena, and they took him out of office up there. So that's a second-class township rule. It's not 1950 or something like that. That's today, all right, and that's just happening. I'm just bringing out that, that's not for Mr. Lamb, but for this board to know that there is cases when the people, live in a different area and run for election. Because most of the people don't even know that you live there. You have a resident or a business there, and all they see you, and you run for supervisor. And here you live, in this particular case, Modena.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor? Aye.
This is, it's really hard because there's so many good candidates. Mr. Lambert, and I think you're one of them. It's, but at the same time, we gotta get a replacement here.
Is it necessary that action has to be taken tonight?
It does. Well, for this board,
We have to vote.
yeah, otherwise it goes to the vacancy board and then to the courts. So we have to do something tonight. It's just, I wish maybe, I don't know, we could, there's nothing we can really, we can't even discuss this any other way. Otherwise we can put together a chart or something.
Didn't you second, when Steve made the motion, you second the motion?
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out,
Okay.
I mean, I received your father's recommendation, so I saw his email as well. So I'm just saying that even your father agrees that there's other good candidates out there. So that's all my
I
comment
just,
is.
you're,
No,
I
all I'm saying is there's good people out there, Mr.
Absolutely.
Scott. Yeah, absolutely.
I guess one question I should ask, and I wasn't here last meeting, and just for all the candidates, I guess they understand the time it takes to put to this position. And with the exception of Mrs. Culp, who's new on the board, it's not a two-day-a-week job. And I'm sure the office staff can validate how often you four supervisors are in this building, and it should be daily. We're not on the phone daily, so I hope whoever you all choose, they have the time to commit. Because I think before know what it takes to do this job. So,
May I make a comment? I think because you actually seconded that,
I did, the motion's on the floor.
really, not open the discussion is, you have to have a second to open according to Robert's Rules of Order, right? I
That's
do
right.
believe
Correct,
that's,
I'm just saying before my vote comes through, I'm just saying there's a lot of good candidates. It's not an easy process. I don't even know, I'm trying to think about how I could even make it, like, even, I mean, we just heard 4 new ones tonight, and then I'm thinking back to the 6 that we just had, so I'm just trying to do something swiftly here, I guess it's on the fly. Does anybody else have any comment about that, about the candidates, or? No?
I hate to be a little bit dense on this, but does it have to be open at this time, or can people get together and do it among themselves?
No, it has to be in public. Yeah, there's no discussion behind it. It's the only employment matter we can.
You answered the gentleman in the front's question. May I ask?
Real briefly.
Okay. I'm wondering why you have them in number order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You chose to vote on Mr. Lambert first.
It was my choice to vote.
Okay, thank you.
It's not any particular. The vote has been called for.
Follow order.
You can vote if you want. There's no order. I would think that's something.
There is a sunshine law.
I have a question.
Sure.
Does the board have to vote on a specific candidate as a binding vote? Or could you go through all 10 candidates and vote as to who your preferences are, and anyone that doesn't get 3 votes gets called out, and then take that smaller pool of candidates and run through as a final vote?
I like what you just said there. It just gives, there's so many, I feel like it's, and Mr. Lambert, you're one of the people I like a lot. It's just, I feel like in doing what we're doing here, we didn't even discuss the other ones, and I know in the end, it still comes down to that, but at least we examine all 10 real fast. But is there any way to really do that?
Well, through the discussion, anyone can note their preference for who would be their top choice. There's not really a nominating, any kind of official nominating process to narrow down the field. Right now, though, you do have a motion before you that you've got to act on, it's been made. So that doesn't necessarily disqualify the person from your choice if you want to open it up for further discussion on all the candidates, some of the candidates, or just one of the candidates.